Here at GCU, or Grand Canyon University, expansion is something that is quite common. It is something that we are seeing happen more frequently and rapidly. From the construction of our ever-growing campus to our outreach programs, GCU is definitely a growing force. However, as we expand, our programs seem to be falling behind. The focus on these programs is held elsewhere, where it may not be beneficial or is not meeting the criteria for our online out-of-state students, and even in some cases is not meeting the criteria for our state students. With a retention rate that is falling slowly, we are seeing that this is something that we need to take into consideration. Having experienced this firsthand as an enrollment counselor is something that I believe needs to be rectified. With the help of different types of tools and the strategic evaluation plan, I have made a means that may make it possible to strengthen the foundation of our programs. With a strategic plan in mind, there is a way to maximize the strength of our programs. The first course of action is done through what is known as a SWOT analysis. This idea takes the strengths and weaknesses of the way our arts programs are built and pinpoints the greatest need. It is due to the SWOT analysis that I was able to pinpoint weaknesses within the program's foundations. Most of our arts programs are based in linguistics and historics, while we are passing by the business and STEM options. By not implementing these foundations into the program, it can lead to the programs not meeting a well-rounded criteria. By bypassing these possible program additions, it may hinder our graduates from obtaining work or the know-how in certain fields for when they do graduate. The second course is the strategic map. After researching the base of our programs, I was able to see the cause and effect of our foundations and how they have a weigh-in on how students pick universities and programs. With the stakeholder tool provided by Rachel Thompson, it was easy to see which stakeholders would be directly affected by the possible strategic plan. It was also easier to see which stakeholders would have the most benefit participating in the ultimate goal. After pinpointing the most regarded stakeholders and finding that they were actually within our internal party, the two that stood out the most to me were the CEOs and the department heads for each program. After properly identifying these stakeholders, I moved on to conceptualizing a strategic map. This strategic map, provided by Richard Daft, focuses on a select number of criteria. They are as follows from bottom to top: learning and growing goals, internal business process goals, customer service goals, and finally, financial performance goals. By building an idea for a larger goal, that allowed me to visualize the smaller goals and see where they are needed to aid in the bigger picture for the ultimate goal. With the help of the strategic plan, I was able to visualize what some goals would be to come full circle on the building of our program foundations. By creating a full circle, it allows students to gain the experience in the arts fields, but also be able to rely on the business aspects to aid in real-life application of their programs. Some of the questions that came to mind while thinking of this strategic map were: what are some of the biggest ways to appeal to students? How can marketing aid in the success of a program outreach? Things of that nature. With the strategies in mind, an action plan can then begin to take shape. With an action plan, communication becomes easier to manage, and it also becomes more accessible to all parties. Since goals have already been established before this point, it should be easier to communicate them and ultimately achieve them. If an action plan does not have proper communication, it can cause the failure of a project as a whole. It is highly important that communication is a key aspect through the entire goal. With this in mind, I have constructed a communication plan to help equip the action plan for application. Thanks to the Mind Tools team, the use of a template allows for each section to have a way of communication that will best fit their needs. Some different forms of communication come in the way of team meetings, CEO check-ins, emails, and so on. The audience that required the most focus were, again, the CEO and the department heads. Within these two parties, verbal communication is one form that may best aid in the flow of communication. Now, while this may work for this particular extension, it may not work for other parties. So it is important to be aware of all types of communication forms and how they best benefit the task at hand. A large amount of communication for this project will be mainly in the form of emails and meetings. A communication plan is exceptionally important for the whole project to work and be efficient. The last course of action is the evaluation plan itself. It is important that we see the steps of the plan being completed, but also that we have milestones to see the fruits of our labor. We need to ensure that the culmination of this plan is coming to fruition. Goals need to be maintained and met so that all that hard work does not fall by the wayside. Total Quality Management Tools, or TQM tools, given to us through DAFT, allows for us to further dissect our evaluation to make sure everything is running smoothly and efficiently. While there are many TQM tools available, two stood out in my mind as the best fit for this plan. They are benchmarking and quality circles. Quality circles is when a group of individuals comes together and provides feedback on what is working and what may not be working. Since there are a large number of teams involved in the building of programs, it would be beneficial to have 1 or 2 members present from each team in these quality circles. With all the parties present, it allows for there to be an open line of communication and can ultimately help in troubleshooting some problems or also help possible future obstacles. Benchmarking allows for each team to be held accountable. By applying benchmarks, each team is required to meet goals and deadlines in a certain timeline. It provides even fair analysis of what each party should be accomplishing and contributing to the ultimate goal. A decentralized approach is the most befitting for this type of action plan. Each party needs to be aware of what they can do and what they should do to aid in the success of the plan. By doing this, it instills a sense of pride and ownership in their work and helps strengthen the process. If all the parties can achieve this goal, then it can aid in the expansion and the fiscal growth of the university.